back together again a year later. Man, where did the year go?
I know so much has happened in a year.
Oh my God, it's insane. So let's welcome everyone who is watching us. Hi, everybody. I'm Abby, now Hamilton. And this is my wonderful co-star, Trinidad Hermida.
What
And
up?
we are back. We're back, baby.
A year later. A year later.
Oh my God, a year. Like, seriously. I mean, I was just thinking about our Thanksgaming last year and, all the things, right? All the things that were like discussed, all the things that should be actionable items, for 2021, but it's still not actual items because we're still in this pandemic. What's up with that?
Well, I think sometimes there's a false sense of hope when we think that like there's one solution to a global pandemic, like just get the vaccine or just do this or just do that, and then it's another vaccine and it's another one, then it's another this, and now it's a new variant. Now it's just like just wash your hands and you're not surrounding yourself with a lot of people, like I mean, even something that's airborne, like what is social distancing really do? So I just think that there's just a lot of misinformation out there. I think some people are really adamant about doing one thing and others are adamant about doing another, and thinking there's no real in the middle. And I feel like even governments are starting to turn into more dictatorial type what is it called?
Like a dictatorship
type things, like where it's like this is it and this is what we're doing, and I'm like, bro. So it's just the world that we're living in is so different than last year, because I don't even remember last year. It was like it was optional, like if you wanted.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
And then we were excited about the holidays and spending time with family and friends, but even then, like there was still an era of sadness, and there's still an era of sadness because there's people who are still don't have access to good health care, but we want them to take a vaccine, like, but they don't have health care. Like, I'm like, it's so backwards when you're like, they're like, can we just get people health care? Can we get people to be able to take care of their, like, like I'm talking about people with cancer who don't have healthcare, people who have like diabetes who don't have healthcare. I mean, I don't know how this turned into a healthcare thing, but I just got to say, it's like, I love people, and I love when people are able to get the tools that they need in order to get by,
Yeah.
There's like, we last year during this time, we were, praising our healthcare workers, praising our, first line people. And then to see recently that in New York, if you didn't get the vaccine, you were just
I know.
fired. Like, these are people who risked their lives for a whole year, and now we're fine. Okay. Now, this is not a politics show. So
we're not going to talk about politics. What?
Abby, you're married now. Congratulations. How does it feel? Like, let's let everybody know, like, what you want them to know about your special day. Tell us about your special day.
I mean, my wedding day was obviously just as amazing as I ever envisioned, because I got to marry the love of my life, but I've actually been doing a lot of talks with other women who are like, wait, hold up. You were like satisfied single, doing your thing for like 5 years. And I was like, yes, exactly. And when people saw my wedding video and they heard my vows, because I straight up said to him in my vows, like, I was completely content being by myself, and I still stand by that women can be completely fine just being by themselves. You don't need to be, identified with like a relationship, in however which form. Like, as long as you're happy. So in my vows, I straight said, like, I love traveling by myself. I liked eating by myself, like going to places and meeting new people. And I think that resonated to, like a lot of individuals who are like, wow, I've never really heard someone say like, I'm cool being like single. But once you actually found the one and you were like ready for all of that, that's a different story, right? Because I really did marry my best friend and like someone who is a wonderful, wonderful partner. So the wedding day was completely just perfect in that aspect. But it was just something that I still reflect on. And now I talk about it so much that you do not need a relationship to properly identify as successful. So it's so funny because like a year ago we were talking about this, like how people were like, hold on, you're not quite married yet, so you can't really check off the successful box. But now I'm like, how you like me now? Like
Right.
but
And you
I
were
really did.
and you were
I really
talking
did.
about how with like culture wise, like it's a big deal in the
Yeah.
Filipino culture. And
Yeah.
that's just it's not just only Filipino, it's a lot of marginalized genders. It's like, oh, you
Yes.
need it's as someone who like even some of the social constructs of being
Yes.
um a woman in these cultures. A lot of times it's just really interesting to see when you try to break out of that some of the disparities that you have to deal with internally and then also within your immediate family unit. And so,
Yeah.
I mean,
And that was powerful that we had that conversation like literally just like a year ago. Like we were having our Thanksgaming. By the way, super huge shout out to the gay gaming professionals. Like we love you so much for giving us a platform like this to just be ourselves, just be Trinity and Abby, just doing our thing and just talking about the things that are really super meaningful to us because like that is just so important to have a voice and have a platform that you can use for good. So thank you for that. But no, like I want to also talk about you. You have had some changes in a span of a year and I'm so excited to hear all about them.
well, what she I mean, I left Niantic to start my own business. And I'm also a co-founder of an augmented reality business and really dabbling in this NFT blockchain cryptocurrency space. And really trying to marriage my love for augmented reality, hence why I loved working at Niantic, but then also my love for um, the blockchain and everything that it means. It means community, it
Yeah.
means transparency, it means diversity. So like I'm really testing that with my co-founders. One of them, shout out to Justin and Lucas, one of them's at Art Basel right now. Like um and all my Art Basel peeps, like I hope y'all have a safe week this week, and that you enjoy the art, you enjoy the community, and you enjoy spending time with people who are like-minded. So doing my own thing has been interesting. I have to trust God, I have to trust myself, I have to trust the community that I'm within, and challenge myself to
I
not be
love it.
complacent.
I love it and I give you so much kudos for that. I mean, I want to hear about how you even made the decision, because that was a huge decision, obviously. But to take a step back and just be like, I'm ready to do me. I'm ready to put my passions first. I'm ready to put me first and the things that I love and really making that positive change. Because obviously you were a force to be reckoned with, like at Niantic, and we have, I mean, like we thank you for so much of what you did for that like industry, especially a woman in gaming. But I personally want to hear about your journey. Like, how did you make that decision? Because I'm sure many individuals might want to follow in those footsteps.
Ooh, I think there's a couple things that drew me to where I was. When you, and not everybody has the same lived experience, but I will say that, like, if you are considering, like, what are the reasons behind it? Ask yourself the hard questions. And one of them was, like, could I see myself, like, what does career growth look like for me after Niantic? And that's the thing that was really hard, because when I say I loved working at Niantic, and I still do love Niantic, it's like, it's a warm place in my heart, because I was able to build, I was able to create, I was able to try and fast fail And the community there was loving, accepting, and willing to go on that journey with me. So there, I didn't really see why I would leave unless I was leaving to do my own thing. Like I couldn't see myself going anywhere else, to be honest. Like to be the head of or chief diversity officer, whatever, you name it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think that a lot of times being in the D&I space, people like to put you in a box and be like, oh, you're just an HR professional or you're a D&I person. When I also have a desire to do tech, like I geek out on art, I geek out on technology, I geek out on things that are new and up and coming. I think about DAOs, I think about decentralized autonomous organizations and what does that look like today. I think about NFTs or non-fungible tokens, and I think about the fact that like, you know, you own a piece of the pie, and in communities like marginalized communities that are usually late to the party and usually getting something that's inflated or capitalized on already, like I really do think that there needs to be an opportunity to raise awareness, and so why not use the platforms that I love using anyways and empowering anyways to do that. So that was my biggest sort of force factor. I interviewed with other companies, got offers, and I didn't have peace. I didn't have
Yeah.
peace about moving forward with another company or peace about even though it was like some of them were the best offers I've ever had in my life. And like and if you're thinking about like what is success for me, it looks different for everybody. Some people's
Yeah.
success is having a six-figure job with a house and kids and a husband. Like some people success is living in your high-rise condo in Shanghai. Like what is success for you? You have to really
Mhm.
sit with yourself, ask yourself the tough questions, and ask yourself, am I really living in my peace? Am I really living in my power? Am I really trusting that this journey or this pathway that I've paved out for myself is what I want to be on? I've been on the train, and I call it the train because it feels like on a fast moving train where you're just like, okay, got the house, got the car. All right. Got the nice job. All right. Right. And then you wake up and you're like, what stop am I at? Do I even want to be here? And so
Oh, that's interesting. I like that. Okay. And
So
so
I ask people a lot to like, do you have enough time within your year? And this is a great time to do it, to be honest. With take a sip of this.
Mhm.
With the holidays and some time off, and sometimes even the holidays, let's be honest, holidays aren't always happy for everybody.
Right.
Holidays aren't always a great time for everybody. So like it is a time though of reflection. It is a
Yeah.
time of either missing loved ones or thinking about how has my year been,
Mhm.
and when you think about that, I dare you to think about like, did I set this course or this plan for my job that I'm excited about? Did I accomplish everything I wanted to accomplish personally? Did I take care of myself health wise? Did I
Mm,
spend time with my family, even
yeah.
though it's a global pandemic? Did I take time to do a Zoom with a friend that I haven't talked to in a long time?
Yeah.
Did I forgive those who need to be forgiven? Did I let go of those who need to be let go? Am I looking forward to tomorrow? Am I living in the present? Am I at peace with who I am? These are things that matter. We're just like this week, or was it yesterday, Virgil from off, like the designer of Off-White passed
Oh,
away from
right.
cancer. Last year we lost Chadwick, right? Like we're
Right.
losing people all the time to
Right.
sudden death, to disease, to COVID. If anything, we're realizing, wow, I don't want to live life how I was living life prior to the pandemic. If you've
Right.
if you've had time to actually
Yes. Ugh.
breathe.
Yeah. Yeah, you're really hitting things like on the head. It's been, like I said, it's been so crazy that's only been a year, but so much has definitely like changed. I feel like priorities have definitely shifted because of this pandemic. It's actually enlightened me in so many different ways. And just like you know, I'm kind of like in a very transitional phase. So, long story short, before, like literally a month before I got married, I was actually diagnosed with pre-diabetes, and I also had a failing gallbladder, so I had to have emergency surgery. So right, a month before the wedding, you're basically told, okay, you got to go through a really invasive surgery, and you also are pre-diabetic. And it wasn't, because of the fact that I wasn't eating right. It was just her, just basically just, hereditary. It just ran in our genes in our family. So talk about a major shift in priorities. Your health and your wellness has definitely come to light as being something that you need to prioritize. And I think this pandemic definitely showed all of that, right? That we kind of maybe took those things for granted. And now is a time for us to kind of like take a step back and be like, what am I needing to prioritize for my life to be at peace? And so that you are waking up every single day like completely content with what you're doing. And if you're not, this is a time for you to basically make that shift and make that change. And we shouldn't be afraid to do so. Um, Again, I'm not sure if like, anyone like knew this, but I was in the wedding planning game for like 13 years. And my wedding was the very last wedding that I was ever going to plan ever again. And it's not because like I don't love creating those dream come true moments for like couples, but I wanted to put my energy and my time and just like my whole heart into the things that I'm passionate about. And I'm sorry, that's basically creating positive change for underrepresented communities, and also just really focusing on the platforms that I basically say that I back up and I support, and really putting where my mouth is, my money where my mouth is, in terms of really creating actionable changes and positive changes. So, I really want to focus on that in 2022. Like, I mean, having a corporate job and everything is great. And obviously having that financial stability in employment is great and everything. But what I came to see, especially in a pandemic, is that if you're not passionate about what you do day in and day out, or like who you are as a person, then you have to like kind of shift your priorities. And I'm just kind of like in that transitional phase too, that I need to ask myself like, am I really okay with the work life balance that I've created for myself? Am I really happy with the person that I am? Is my health something that I've prioritized? Is my wellness something that I've prioritized? Mental health is just something that I am a huge, huge, huge advocate for discussing. I honestly think that should actually be taught in schools, versus, not that I'm saying like history and math and geometry and all of that is like not important, but can we get a class on mental health and wellness at a very young age, right? Just so that you are just wanting to definitely identify with the fact that at a young age you're already dealing with a lot of mental health and wellness issues, and you're not even seeing it until you're an adult. um I saw Dear Evan Hansen just recently, and it was so powerful. I was like crying my eyes out. And it wasn't just a storyline, but it was just, why can't we teach at a young age how to understand what depression looks like, what panic attacks feel like, you know, when you're not getting that necessary support from your community, your elders, your peers, like what can we do? What can we do to change all that? So, have you seen it, Trini? Have you seen Dear Evan Hansen yet?
No, I haven't. Should I
Oh,
see it?
yes, with like a box of Kleenex. Like,
Okay.
because when you're super passionate about diversity and inclusion and belonging, and just you feel othered in your life, that is something that will resonate with you completely. So, just mental health and wellness is something that I've become like just super passionate about. I've gone through my own, like cases of panic attacks and depression, and that's the reason why I am ready to speak on it. I'm ready to educate people on it, especially like women, because sometimes like our stresses may be a little bit different, in terms of, again, the cultural, kind of like the cultural expectations of you and just expectations of you as a woman, and making sure that you're a wife, mother, employee, just like all of these things. No, it's however you are happy living your life is the way that you're supposed to live your life. So yeah, that in a nutshell is what I've learned in the past year. On top of being my own wedding planner in the pandemic, which was
That's
crazy.
wild. That's wild.
But yeah, no, I mean, I commend you so much for just taking this next step in your life. And I'm so inspired by you, and I'm sure so many others are too. And I hope anyone that's watching this who has questioned, like, am I going the right career path? Am I doing the right thing? That's something that only you can answer for yourself. And you're the only one that can make those changes. But I mean, how has that been for you? The shift, like, I mean, I see you're still speaking and doing your thing and being the badass woman that you like are, but my God, NFTs, blockchain, I feel like that's definitely something I would like to be more educated on, just because you hear every single day now, and yeah,
There's
I
a lot of
mean,
there's a lot of good information about that, to be honest. So like whenever they do post this or whatever, we'll drop it.
yeah,
I'll drop a couple links in the comment section so that people can learn about Web3.
okay,
And there's a couple, like Engine has a great white paper on it. There's a couple books. I'll drop all that whenever this is
yeah,
but I do think that it sometimes this Web3 space could be scary. Like I feel like it's the unknown, uncharted territory, the metaverse, all these
oh,
conversations, different
yeah,
things like that. And that's why Mr. Augmented, the company that I'm, co-founding, is big on like educating people on augmented reality on the blockchain, because at the end of the day, the metaverse and all of these things, these NFTs, these contracts that we're building, there's no way to actually bring them into our current reality unless you're using augmented reality.
right.
So that's the piece that I love to talk about, and hopefully we'll be the number one platform for that in the future. But
I love it.
yeah, and as far as like life, I've been on a faith journey, and what I mean by that is like I'm trusting God um for direction, peace, understanding, clarity, wisdom, all of that, and a bag of chips on what I should be engaging with, what I shouldn't be engaging with, what I need to focus on, and what I should probably just sit and wait.
Mhm.
I know that one thing that I am is I walk with a peace, I walk with authority, and I know who and what I believe. And the piece of that is like the light that shines within me, and so like I have to be very direct when I go into spaces and let people
Mhm.
know, like, I may not have a rhyme or rhythm to why I'm saying what I'm saying or what I'm doing, but I know that my steps are ordered. And so that's why, like, this journey of, I haven't, and a lot of people don't know this, but I haven't lived in one place in the last year. I've
I
been a
know.
digital nomad, and it's because I don't know where I am going to land at this moment. I'm giving it till the end. Well, I'm giving it until I need to give it, right? Because
Mhm.
I'm not going to try and control the narrative, but I'm
Yeah.
really trusting God as far as like, Lord, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? This is a really big world. And sometimes we just think what's comfortable, or we think like what's comfortable for me is not living in a hotel room. What's comfortable for me is living in, having my own bed, my own kitchen, and
Mhm.
my own space to just study, and my own office, right? Like, and and so this whole journey has been one of being uncomfortable and not getting complacent. And whenever I think I got a routine, it's just up and
Yeah.
changed. And so I'm learning how to be present in the daily, and I'm learning how to, in the midst of what may seem like being chaotic, have peace. And that, I think, is the biggest lesson for me for 2021, is just trusting God. I think the last time we talked, I was in Washington. I was at
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah.
brother-in-law's house, which was
Yeah.
beautiful, and I miss the dog, I miss the house, I miss all of it, and but at the same time, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else than where I am right now.
That's so awesome. So, I mean, are you still very much going to be connected in the gaming world still? Like,
Oh yeah. I mean,
okay.
I'm actually consulting right now at Unity with their
Okay.
diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm I talk to people in the game industry all the time. I love to raise awareness about the industry. I'm not going anywhere. This is a passion.
Good.
Not a lot of women of color in
Yes.
positions like you and I are in this space. So I do think that it's necessary to not leave it. I do think that the future of gaming is definitely, there's some blockchain components. So I love talking about that
Mhm.
as
Okay, awesome. So let's kind of take a step back. Let's talk about like gaming. Like in the past year, where are your thoughts still about where gaming is in terms of have we done better, like in the past year? Has it gotten worse? Are we still in the same predicaments that we were in the beginning of 2020 in terms of DNI and gender discrimination and these walkouts and I just want to know like what's been going on in your head and in your heart about our industry in the past year.
it's actually been really sad, to be honest,
Yeah.
is that like we just had there's just a lot of things that were done. I mean, I think years ago, and then just never really, people didn't have the, what's the word, the piece to tell people about it. And now, things are coming out from way back when, things are coming out from recent stuff. The Activision Blizzard thing that happened, it was last year and then again this year. Like
Yeah.
it's just like it's like the
Yeah.
never ending story. And then, the game industry tends to be a lot of people who are entitled, and with that entitlement comes a little dash of toxicity and a little dash of arrogance and ego. And I say that because they've never had to have accountability, because they were all studios that they created with their own desire of what they said their culture was going to be. And this generation behind me is not playing. Like, they're like, no, I want to bring my whole self to work, and I don't want to have to be treated differently than anybody else.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
it's like, these leaders who have been around for 20, 25 plus years, are now having to be held accountable. And the game industry blew up overnight. And what I mean is overnight, even recently, because of the pandemic, billions of
Mhm.
dollars funneling into this industry.
Mhm.
And so these companies are having to rapidly grow. And in that rapid growth, they're hiring their friends. They're not trying to go to conferences to find people who don't look like them. They're not trying to network to go outside of the box. And, the companies that are, some of them are, kudos to them. But the same amount of money that you may put in in a game, like I'm kind of saying you need to put that same amount of money to develop your environment and your culture
Mm. Yes.
and the people. Um,
Yes.
a lot of times in this space, we've moved away from people being human, from people being productivity assets. And
Mhm.
it's like, how much can you produce, to the point where even companies are rushing to get back into the office and not realizing that, like, give your people, give your people the choice. because you care about them so much and you trust them and they trust you. Because I really don't know. I don't know the answer, but I know that there's some people who really do want to go back into the office because they miss the community.
Yeah,
There's
right.
People who don't, because they're able to spend more time. They're realizing, wow, I get to spend more time with my children and my family. Then there's some who've moved to be closer to family because they realize, here I am chasing $1, but really I haven't spent time with my family, been in my community, or, or some who are single who just want to, like, wow, I've spent the last 20 years, going to school, educating myself and getting this job, but I haven't lived, and so
Right.
people from all different perspectives who are really struggling with the idea of, and I promise you, if you let people have a choice, there are a lot of people who will choose to say, I really want to come together and spend time with y'all.
Yeah. No. And honestly, like that was my next thing that I wanted to talk about. The future of work, right? Like we came to realize that working from home, working remotely, we were still as productive, if not even more so productive, right? So with this whole great resignation, I think is what it was called, right? Where people were just like, I
I
am
hate
not.
calling I hate that they call it that. I just think it's like people are making a choice for themselves. Like,
Right, right. I'm putting me first. I think it should be like just me first is what, it
me
should be called.
first.
Like
Some
not.
of some of it is because the culture sucks. Some of it is because people are like, I don't want to be here. Some people are going back to school. Some people
Yeah,
are switching careers totally.
yeah.
Some people are just like, hey, you're not gonna meet my standards of being remote, so I'm gonna go somewhere else. Like it's
Right.
not one thing.
No, it's not. So yeah, that was like the next thing I wanted to talk about is like what are your thoughts about, these, certain companies still being like, no, we require you to be in the office like 5 days, like a week. Because we still, feel that this is like the best way for us to be productive and for us to be collaborative and all of that. Like I just want to hear your thoughts because we obviously are some of us are definitely, like lucky enough to work wherever the heck we want to and still do our jobs like as effectively, if not better. Like, because now you're kind of determining when you're exerting, like your effort to, to what projects, and then you're seeing what can be an email, what constitutes something for a virtual meeting. Not everything needs to be a Zoom call or Google Hang or anything, and we're realizing that. But it's so interesting to see that there are still some people who are just like, nope, we want you here, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever. Like sit here in your desk.
Listen, and those are some
Oh, you're
companies.
on mute.
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I truly believe that they're going to be like, there's, for example, like service jobs, hospitals, you know, what white collar jobs. Some jobs you just have to be there, and that's the
Right.
nature of the career. That's the nature of the job, and more power to people who are doing those jobs. And if they love those jobs, I applaud you and I encourage you. And I think that there's some companies where, prior to the pandemic, we were okay with going into the office 5 days a week. We were okay with doing all those things. So I think that, for example, the Apples, you know, I don't know, Apple may have swing. I don't know if it's swing. I think it might just be they want you to come in. That's your choice for working it. And I'm not making it, let me just call a spade a spade. And what I mean by that is not everybody has a choice to decide where their help comes from, especially when we're marginalized and you don't necessarily have the ability to risk, by jumping or trying something new, or and this is your sole source of income. Like this might be something that is pivotal in you being able to provide for your family. I wouldn't challenge that. Like, so like I'm aware that not everybody has an option. And that's part of the disparities that we see with marginalized genders and ethnicities. You don't always have an option.
Right.
On the flip side of that, most workers within California, and that's where I'm technically based, you're an at-will worker.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't like it, you can bounce, and
yeah.
I do think that, I think a lot of people are just riding the wave to see what happens when this, like, we all thought we were going to go back, like, bro, we were trying to go back in September, right? And then it was like, and then it was this, and it's phase 1, phase 2, and it was roll back, and then now, like, globally we were more open than we were in the US, and then we switched it, and now it's back to, like, it's a mess. And if you try to control it, you're just gonna continue to mess up. So it's like, like, roll with the punches. I really don't see most people going back if they're working in an office that's been remote until the new, like, 2022, March, maybe.
Yeah. I agree with you there. I feel like that's kind of the safe assumption zone.
You give yourself a 3-month runway every month. Just add another 3 months.
Exactly. Another quarter or so maybe gets added to that. But it's super interesting because I also saw such a huge influx of diversity and inclusion positions, right? During the pandemic. I've been wanting to ask your thoughts on this, because us being in our space and everything like that, and obviously we're very well connected, with D&I, like, within, like, our own industry, but then now you're seeing D&I, like, literally for just so many different plethora of, like, industries. And I was like, whoa, where did this come from and why?
I say that it just stinks, because I think some companies are trying to put a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. And so their solution to the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and the Stop AAPI hate and all of these things is like, let's just hire a D&I program manager, or let's hire a D&I lead. And it's like, wow, you really just want a PR person. And I'm realizing that a lot of these positions are like, I never thought that in my position I'd be doing crisis management and public relations.
Wow.
And essentially a lot of D&I practitioners have to wear many hats, and those are some of them. So, some of these companies are really just trying to comfort their people, during these times. And hopefully they get D&I folk who really want to do the work.
Yes, that's another thing too. I think, like, we've spoken on this, like, on numerous occasions, like, to be diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is not just a title. You actually have to be passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, like, we can repeat that as many times until we're blue in the face, and it's like, you gotta get this. It is just like recruiting. You cannot do recruiting if you don't like people. Like, I'm fully just convinced of that fact, that sometimes I think people think recruiting, sourcing, HR, all of that, it's just a title. No, you basically have the task of connecting people. So, meaning you have to like people. You can't be someone who's just there to fill a role and a butt in a seat, and that's a be all end all of it. Because honestly, that means that you are not passionate about what you do, and you might have to reevaluate, what you're doing, and just seeing if that in fact is the right role for you. Because there is someone else out there who's probably super passionate about it, absolutely loves people, and wants to make positive change by having much more underrepresented community individuals in certain spaces and certain positions. And if you're not going to be that person, then kindly please take a step back and, allow someone who is passionate about that to basically go forth. But I basically was bringing this up because I don't know if you had a chance. I know you were like super busy, but you were definitely still very present for it. But the GGP put on our very first, diversity and inclusion awards, even though it was virtual. We wanted to commend these individuals who are in this space really creating positive change. And that's just something that sometimes in diversity and inclusion you don't get. You're holding the weight of the world on your shoulders like every single day. So not only are you taking it upon yourself to feel the things that are happening in the world on yourself, but you're also expected to hold the hands, to be a loving and caring, supportive individual for also those individuals in your organization, right? And that's just something I wanted to ask you, like, how did you handle all of that? I mean, especially being the head of Niantic, like in that space, like, how did you handle all of that? I mean, these past 2 years have not been easy. They have not.
I can say that
you're on mute. Oh, there you go.
I can say that there were moments where I had to ask myself if I wanted to put myself out there and risk myself. One thing is, I think that a lot of that, I don't know why my phone is going off. I don't know why there isn't enough people talking about how if you are a D&I professional and you're also in the category of a marginalized gender and ethnicity, a lot of the time you are risking your own career, your own life to stand up for others.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes it's uncomfortable. And sometimes you have to make a choice, like maybe, and that's where we go back to, like, some people are ready to do the work and some people aren't,
Right.
And if you're ready to do the work, sometimes you have to put yourself in tough situations where you stand up for people who either look like you or don't, and you risk the reaction not being favorable, for lack of better.
Yeah.
I will say what has kept me the last 2 years has been the peace that I have in my relationship with God, my peace of my family, being able to spend time with my family and be around them. And then also just not trying to boil the ocean. You got to basically, I hate this analogy, but how do you eat an elephant? One piece at a time.
Oh man. But it's so true. So true.
For those who are not meat eaters, I mean, also I wouldn't eat an elephant. Just want to put that out there. But like I just think about, like, there's some things that are possible and there's others that you have to just trust that the work that you're doing, you're making impact.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I want to commend anyone who really truly is in this space. And again, like making that positive change. And day in and day out, we know that you're doing the work and you actually are showing up. You're showing up. That's also another thing. Showing up, pulling up, and just absolutely taking the fact that you are in this space and you are able to use your power for good. We really commend you for that, because we know it hasn't been easy. And I'm not going to say that I'm like the most perfect like diversity and inclusion individual. I'm learning every single day, and that's another thing too. Educate yourself. There's no such thing as too much knowledge. And I think that that's also like something important too, is just kind of like taking the time to actually learn about a situation or, or an instance before speaking on it. Because that can also sometimes get you, into trouble, especially being, in the spaces that we're at. Trini, what's some advice that you would give to any, D&I individuals that are struggling, right now, especially struggling, sometimes internally because they don't have the support of their teams or their community right now?
I would say one, you got to put the mask on yourself before you try to put it on anybody else. What I mean by that is find out why you're doing this work, and make sure you're reminding yourself of why and what drives you. Because like sometimes it's the little things that tip you over. It's that straw on the camel's back. I don't even know what that means, but I know what it means. But it's really taking moments of, is this strategy, like, so one thing I will advise is, if you have a strategy that's been baked in over the last couple of years, you might want to reevaluate your strategy and say, is this really working? You might want to go back to leadership and say, hey, I need more funding, or hey, I need to redo the strategy. Can we get some help in here? Or hey, I need a new team member, or, different things like that. And advocate for it. And also realize that sometimes where you're at is, if it's not serving you, start to think outside the box. There's a lot of jobs out there, and there's a lot of people who are looking for passionate people to do this work. And sometimes you can mesh multiple desires, right? Like, I love gaming, I love AR, I love people, I love the outdoors. Niantic worked for me, right? There's, if you love gaming and you love youth and you love, like, maybe Roblox works for you. If you love, platform, maybe Unity works for you. If you like, so just think, if you love fashion, maybe think about H&M. I mean, they already have a chief diversity officer, but do you hear what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you can mesh a passion with also a hobby, a passion with also, like, your skill set can cross into different spaces. And I think that's dope.
Nice. Now, obviously, we talk about, just like the weight of the world sometimes on D&I individuals, but I also, want to talk about, like, how have we handled our mental health and wellness and our well-being, especially in this pandemic? Like, what are some practices that you personally have done that you've seen have definitely worked for you? Because I mean, when you're so used to going to live events and talking to people like face to face all the time, traveling all the time and all of that, and everything shifted so much in this pandemic, our mental health and well-being was definitely something that was challenged and compromised because we it was definitely something that maybe we just didn't bring to light was like a priority to us. I mean, I speak for myself too. I learned that, um, I really wasn't taking the best care of myself, like, mentally and also spiritually. So, I know that you and I have talked about this on separate occasions. You've definitely been there for me, in times that I was just like, I'm struggling so hard and I don't even know why I'm struggling. So, like, what are some things that you were doing, in the last, like, let's say, like, year and a half to basically just balance yourself out?
I would say I pray a lot. I think that's one thing a lot of people don't know is I do a lot of prayer. And the reason why is because I release a lot of things. I don't keep them to myself. I let them out and I let them go, and I trust God. I love family. So I do whatever I can to spend the most time with family as I can. Like, my parents are still alive and I'm blessed because of that. And so I want to spend as much time with them while I'm alive. I really do love my parents and value them. I think they're wise and I learned so much from them. I love traveling. Um, so if I can work from different places, I will. I'll try a new location. Like, oh, the hotels don't seem like they're that expensive. Okay, let me go here for a month. So I've been doing that.
Hmm.
I I also love the outdoors. And so
Mm,
I'm big on bike riding, hiking, just going to the beach and
yes,
sitting there. Like I don't have to do anything, just like I'll
I
bring a
know.
book or different things like that. I love driving. So sometimes I'll take the long way home or I'll instead of going to the Target right up the street, I'll go to the one that's like an hour away, and see if they have different things or, just
Nice.
so I appreciate those things. And when I travel
Oh,
to other places like New York or Florida or Washington or Houston or Atlanta, depending on where I'm at, like one time, and I think this was really fun for me. I had a long layover in Salt Lake City. First off, I love flying into Salt Lake City. It's just the most beautiful, like aerial scenery.
really?
And yeah, it's gorgeous. And then Zion is a really nice national park in that area. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be there for it's like a 3 hour layover. I was like, I'm gonna leave the airport. I'm gonna find out how to leave the airport and go to like downtown. So there's a train. So I left the airport, took the train, went to H&M and went to Sephora, and then took the train back, right? Or Forever 21, then took the train back and made my flight. And I was like, that was a nice, I mean, you had to really like know what you were doing, but like it was an adventure, and and that's the kind of stuff that like, if you know anything about me, I'm always down for an adventure and I like
I
to.
know.
So for me, that was like, that was cool. I don't play around with Atlanta's airport though. So like I learned the hard way. I almost missed my whole flight and it was the last flight of the night. And I had to bring my whole luggage, like everything with me through security. So like, how normally you just have your carry-on? They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, you can't check your bag here. And I was like, dang. I was like, so they like security let me bring my big luggage and all my stuff. And I had to throw out anything that was
Oh,
over ounces. And I'm like when I say I'm running to the gate, because like I'm like, I don't care, throw it away. I don't care. Let's go. All right. And then like then you have to get on a train to get to the freaking terminal. I was just like, oh.
oh man.
And I was like, they're like, now boarding me or last cabin. Like, I'm like, I made it. But
Oh man.
I was like, I'm not doing this again. I learned my lesson. Okay. Like, I'm not going to do this again. And I didn't realize like you have to take a train from the rental car place. You have to take a train to get to your terminal. You have to like all this stuff. And so I do not like Atlanta's airport. I love Atlanta, but I don't like their airport. And
Got it.
so
Oh my
that's
god. I will
something.
try to avoid that one as much as I can then, because I am notorious for, I kind of like to look around when I have like, when I know I have like time in between, I'll be like, oh, I'll find like some really good food or something that I can bring with me on the plane. And then I'm like, wait, where's my terminal? Oh my God, it's so far from where I'm at. And then it's like, run, run.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
oh
Atlanta has
man.
I mean, Atlanta's a big airport and
Yeah,
so I'm not complaining. I think if you're going there,
just
it's just
plan.
it's just interesting, yeah.
Yeah, just plan ahead. No, but I'm with you about the whole going to the beach. The ocean can be so therapeutic. I mean, like honestly, like I said, there are days that, I definitely still feel like I need a complete like disconnect day, and I know that sometimes people are like, "Oh my god, what? A disconnect day? Like not like a few hours, no, a day." Cuz just sometimes you just need to just be good with you. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. So, personally, for like my mental health and well-being, I did something called like a goddess day. So from head to toe, I would treat myself really well. Sometimes get the hair done, get the nails done, go to a spa, eat really good food, drink really good drinks, whatever I could do to feel great again from head to toe. So, that's something I still do like once a month. periods, and I shut off my phone. I don't answer any messages. I don't talk to anyone. Like, it's just literally just me. And again, even if you are like in a relationship, dating, married, what have you, you still got to be good with you so that you can be good for everyone else around you. So I know that we got to wrap things up, but oh my God, I mean, I don't want to wait another year to talk. Like, that's just crazy. And see each other.
No, we definitely,
Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I will say we definitely need to do this sooner than later. I think when we first started, we said we would do it once a quarter. We just need to keep on top of it.
Okay, so Gordon Bellamy, if you are listening, we need to do this every 3 months, please. Three. And, you know, we just really are so appreciative of, again, you know, just having a platform to share and to talk and have some tea and also give some tea.
Yeah, I love it.
Right? And honestly, like, I better see you soon. So we got to figure something out. Um, and I'm hoping that you can educate me on the wonderful world of NFTs and blockchains and all that, because I don't understand any of it that I'm reading. So maybe someone can educate me. Maybe we can set up a workshop, GGP,
Yeah.
you know, like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some probably artists that are members of GGP that can talk about their NFTs, and some people who might be working on the blockchain and different things of that nature.
Yeah, I think that we should definitely do it. But honestly, thank you so much. I just want to end this with just talking about blessings. So I just want to say, for this Thanksgiving, especially, this past year has been full of amazing blessings, and I want to give thanks to the GGP for just even bringing me on this amazing organization. You all have changed my life for the better, and I can't say thank you enough. Trini, you are a blessing to me. You know that ever since we met, it's like you're my soulmate, you're my sister. You know what I mean? Like, you get me in such a way that not a lot of people like do, and I appreciate you so much. Of course, I appreciate my friends, my family, and my amazing new husband. So yay! So I just want to say to everyone, whenever things like look bleak, count your blessings, because really, it really does help you to just count those blessings, and it will come back to you tenfold if you're a good person.
And I just want to say thank you to you, Abby, and thank you to Gordon and all of the people at Gay Gaming Professionals. And let's get this party started. We're almost about to hit a new year.
Woo! 2022, we ready. Yeah. So from Abby Hamilton and
Trinidad Hermida,
we say good night and goodbye and God bless.